welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is Bill JenHearter. Bill is from Order 66 Uprising. Shout out to Order 66. What's happening, you guys? All right, so he's got a huge list, Bill does, of all the different things he wants to know. He wants to know about Arena, the heroic AAT ships, what kind of priorities should he be putting on all of those, the gearing, for flexible characters in the game like Kylo or Boba Fett or B2, the ones that you can kind of stick into any team. Does he need to finish his Rebels for a hat, light side hard nodes, finishing droids, doing clones possibly, the top 5 ships, how can he compete, whether he's going to develop clones or not, what are you going to do, a first order team or not? Okay, so there's way too much, not enough focus. I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to give you a priority list. I'm going to try to get you focused solidly on a few key things, so that way you can be successful. You're very, very organized, and that is very, very good. So hopefully this will play in well. Number one thing you should do is focusing on gearing characters, specifically characters that are going to last you through this meta into the next. So let's go into your inventory, and I'm going to go over a few characters that you should develop, about 9 of them. All right, the first 4 characters that I'm going to suggest that you work on come out of Rebels. This is no surprise. It's going to be Chirrut Imwe, Baze Malbus, Biggs, and Wedge. And the reason is those are the 4 best Rebels in the game, and you have all 4 of them unlocked. So there is no reason why you shouldn't develop them. They're going to serve you great now and in the future. The other thing is, you asked about the light side hard nodes. Get this team, and you're not going to worry about the light side hard nodes. It will fall into place and become easy for you to beat, especially with Chirrut and Baze. So you're going to have to get Chirrut up there. Baze is pretty weak, pretty low. You're going to have to develop him as well. So slap Biggs, Wedge, Baze Malbus, and Chirrut Imwe into your favorites. These characters, these Rebels, can be used on any team. You can plug Biggs and Wedge into any team, and they instantly become your power hitters for that team. You can instantly plug Baze and Chirrut into any team, and that team instantly becomes twice as good as they were before, because that's just how good these characters are. So those are the first 4. They're going to help you with Rebels, and it also solves for heroic AAT, phase 2 or phase 4, preferably phase 4. And so it just kind of knocks multiple birds out with one stone to make sure you get these guys developed. Next, Kylo Ren is an excellent character as a standalone. He can be plugged into any team, including the Arena team. You know this. You already have his abilities maxed out. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to focus on finishing him off. It's difficult, especially when you spend little to no money in the game to get their gear, especially at this level. That's where your team's going to come into play, is doing lots of raids, lots of heroic raids, and getting that gear, and then saving all your crystals that you earn. Don't do as many things with your crystals. Try and save at least half of all earned crystals for gear in the shops, and then you can buy those specific pieces that you're struggling with finding after a week or 2 of saving your crystals. Number 2, yay, finally, someone's going to suggest B2 again to someone. A Warrior is finally suggesting B2 again. Yes, you said that you thought that B2 was an excellent character for any meta, and he's definitely one of the best characters in the game for counter meta, meaning that he's going to disrupt or be a disruption character. And so I definitely recommend B2 for everybody. I can't tell you how many times I'm going through Galactic War, I hit a node with 3 tanks, and I, for some reason, just can't get through it with a particular team. I substitute out one of my characters for B2, and I walk through it. So he's amazing. He's one of those characters that every once in a while I have to pull out and slap in my Arena team for a week or 2 or a month or 2. He's one of those characters you're going to definitely want to finish gearing and finish him off. Number 3 is Darth Nihilus. Again, one of those characters you can put on any team with any composition, and he's going to be standalone and work out phenomenally well. You have him at Gear 8. 4 stars, plenty. You're not going to be able to use him in the raids, but 4 stars plenty for every other area of the game, but Gear 8 is not. So you're going to want to put him in your favorites and make sure that you finish gearing him up for sure. You asked me about Sunfac. He was on your list of flexible player versus player characters that you thought would be anti-meta, counter-meta, and you're absolutely right. You've got him gear 8. Finish him off. You've got him pretty leveled up, 7-star with his abilities at 7 or max, so he's definitely worth finishing. He had a very large place in the past metas. He's currently not being utilized much, but I guarantee he will come back with a vengeance in the future. So he's definitely one you want to finish. Plus, he's got the second best tank in the ships section of the game, so he's definitely worth finishing for ships alone. But he's definitely going to be one of those disruption characters with his countering and being able to dispel. He's just a great addition to any team. And lastly, you asked about Boba Fett. I completely concur. I believe he's excellent in any meta. He's phenomenal. You've got him at gear 8, 7-star. He's at gear 8, so finish him off. So Kylo Ren, B2, Nihilus, Sunfac, Boba, all these characters are characters you can plug in to any team. They're going to work great. They're going to work great against this meta, the future meta, the past meta. They're excellent characters as standalones, and they're going to help you in multiple areas of the game. For example, Boba Fett will help you in all the scoundrel events, so that's definitely one of the reasons why you want to finish him off. He's great scoundrel, but he's also a great plug-and-play character on pretty much any team. So we talked about the 9 characters you need to gear, from Chirrut, Baze, Biggs, Wedge, Kylo, B2, Nihilus, Sunfac, Boba. Those, throw in your favorites and work them to completion. And completion for you, since you really don't spend any money, is you're going to have to get them to gear 10 at least for them to be really viable. But they are definitely the characters you want to gear. That's your number 1 priority. Now, you can do that simultaneously while you're working on your heroic AAT teams. For phase 2 or 4, you're going to work on Rebels, and that will be this team right here. You currently have 4 7-stars, so you have sort of almost a team. You're almost there. You're going to have to continue to develop another Rebel, and you're going to have to pick someone who's easily farmable for this team for now, while you slowly over the next few months work on Baze and Chirrut. But someone like Biston would not be a waste. You could get him up pretty quickly, and then you could use him for now in the phase 4 of the raid, and that would be definitely the way to go for there. As far as the second phase or fourth phase using like droids or clones, you kind of asked, should I go clones or should I go droids? This is your clones. You're 6 months away from having a heroic AAT phase 2 team. This is your droids. You are almost there, if not already there, with your HK-47, 88, 86. So the path of least resistance for you, especially because you have so much to focus on, is going to be droids. Now, are you going to be able to do 6 million like you could, or 4 million like you could with clones? No. But are you going to be able to give a greater contribution than many with a droid team? Absolutely. A 1 million phase 2 is more than enough contribution for the team that you're in. Also, as you know, you're going to have to get Jawa Engineer and Chief Nebit up. Both of them you already have 7 stars, so they're viable as far as that goes in the raids. But you only have Chief Nebit at gear 8. You're going to have to get him up. He's your tank, right? He's your tank. So you're going to have to make him gear 10 to really get the damage that you're looking for out of your other droids. And then Jawa Engineer, you've got pretty high. I would try your very best to get Jawa Engineer gear 11. And then you want to make all of your best speed mods. If this is an important raid for you, if this is an important phase for you, try and get some of your best speed mods on these characters. Now, you are using multiple droids in your arena team, so that shouldn't be too difficult because it's going to cross over. The mods you put on your arena team are going to help you with phase 2 for your droid team. So you're almost there for droids in being a great phase 2 team. So I would just finish them off. I would not work on putting the clones in here. It's just way too much work for someone who's essentially free to play. It just seems like a whole lot of work. Now, after you've got everybody else in that list that I've given you worked out and maxed out and all of that, I would probably finish off First Order, or you could add these guys who are incomplete to your list of 9 that I gave you already, because you already have invested a heavy amount of time into the First Order. Now, you've already got 4 of them, or 3 of them 7-star. In the First Order TIE Pilot, obviously you got to grind to get up to 7 stars. He's one of the worst in the game for sure. And then First Order Stormtrooper. But gear 10, gear 11 on these characters, First Order's Stormtrooper is really the one that's kind of lacking. And this team, this first order team, you could use in phase 2 as well, or you could even use in phase 1. Surprisingly, does all right in phase 1 as well. So this would be a great team for heroic AAT, but I would definitely put it after your rebels, because there's so much usability with those rebels that I've suggested in multiple areas of the game, and you're wanting to, you know, finish off the light side level 9 light side hard nodes, and your droids are almost done. You definitely want to kind of finish them. You're so close. And then, you know, then you can come and finish your first order team. And then lastly, after you've done your first orders, your droids, your rebels, then I would move to clones. I think they're a fun team. I think they're great to develop, but I would put them on the farthest burner of all of your priority list. Of all those things you asked me about, they would definitely, for me, if I was you, I would go for what you've told me. I would put them in the last slot of priority, okay? Now let's go ahead and go into ships. So for ships, you're doing really well. You're using Admiral Akbar. I would suggest that as well. And you're using Biggs, and you're using the First Order TIE Fighter with Jedi Consular. So those are 3 great ships. You have, it looks like, Sunfac also with Biggs, and so you're double tanking it, which is a suggestion I've made in the past. And so I probably get why you're doing that. And you're using Boba Fett probably for target lock. And that's not a bad idea as well, but being 5-star and being an attacker, he's probably a little bit vulnerable on your team. Even though you have a double tank, he still might be vulnerable. So I'm just going to give you some suggestions to tweak it. Take it or leave it. Hopefully these tweaks help you kind of grind up and stay up. But if you're in a really competitive arena shard, it may not help my suggestions. So of course, Admiral Akbar as your lead capital ship, and then I would suggest actually the First Order TIE Fighter and the Imperial TIE Fighter. Now your Imperial TIE Fighter is always going to be a little lower on the totem pole, but he's definitely the fastest ship in the game, and so I would recommend those 2 TIE Fighters on the team. And if you use the Imperial TIE Fighter, if you incorporate this bad boy into your lineup, you actually could pull Sunfac out. You don't need 2 tanks at this point. In your initial lineup, and so you could get away with Sunfac in the beginning, and so instead of having 2 tanks and not doing very much damage, you could switch to using because you're putting the Imperial TIE Fighter in there, you could also switch to having Ahsoka and that ship in there. And the reason for that is you're really missing a dispeller, so you might be finding yourself getting caught up in someone else's taunt and having issues actually targeting who you want to target. Ahsoka would be an excellent addition. She hits hard, she's pretty evasive, and she's going to be able to dispel those taunts for you when you're having those ship battles. So my suggestion is the 2 TIE Fighters, the Imperial TIE Fighter and the First Order TIE Fighter, both of them on their basic can target lock, and then have Biggs, he can target lock as well on his basic. Ahsoka and Jedi Consular. Jedi Consular will bring some of that durability to your team and provide a little extra protection up for your team, as well as he's just very durable and hits pretty hard himself. And then in your backup lineup, then you could put your Sunfac in, because you'll probably lose your Biggs, and this will give you a tank to come in pretty quickly to replace Biggs once he's dead. And then you could have Slave 1 as a backup ship. So after you've painted the other team with quite a bit of target lock with your Imperial TIE Fighter and First Order TIE Fighter and Biggs, this guy will come in and do an AoE that damages everyone with the target lock. So it would be Sunfac in your first slot and Slave 1 in your second slot. However, when you're playing on offense, you could always bring in Slave 1 first, because you can bring in anybody how you see fit. And then lastly, I would probably put in a heavy hitter that's durable like Wedge into the backup. Since you're using Admiral Akbar, it makes sense to use a Rebel attacker, and he's very powerful. He can hit for 50 to 100,000, pretty amazing, and you've got this ship pretty much maxed out. So I would definitely recommend Wedge as your third ship. So I really hope that this has helped kind of take all of that craziness in your head. Definitely Arena is your #1 priority, or should be, because that's how you get your crystals. You know, the heroic AAT should probably be second, because that's how you stay in your team and be a team player and get lots of good rewards. And then ships is important too, because you get a lot of stuff there. So that's how I would prioritize that. But gear your characters I suggested: Chirrut, Baze, Biggs, Wedge, Kylo, B2, Nihilus, Sunfac, and Boba. And then make sure you're working on Rebels first for the heroic AAT and the level 9 light side battles. Then work on your droids. They're almost finished. And then finish that First Order team you've been working on so much. And then lastly, do those clones. I hope this has helped, Bill. As always, make sure you keep your gaming on. Warrior, out.